Okay, so we got to talk about that popcorn bucket for Deadpool and Wolverine
Oh
because
boy.
oh my god, that looks something. It looks something.
It's it's just an interesting bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Um that's all I can say.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
It's not the worst.
I mean, it. I, I applaud them for going all the way, but I mean, this morning I was just looking at Twitter and people already photoshopped it on other stuff, and it's like, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I thought that was gonna happen.
Well,
When you make a bucket like that, it's bound to happen.
yeah, but it. I applaud them for not having a limit, and
True.
yeah, because especially it coming from Marvel, aka Disney, when they want to be family friendly as hell, when they release something like
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm I would actually not be surprised if a lot of theater chains will not have that in their actual theaters, and it may be like an online thing. Like some places did that, but or if they do have it in their theater, they may have like um, um, it like they don't have it up for display, and it's kind of like a yeah, you want it, yeah, look at this. So yeah, and
Yeah. I don't know. I think some of the buckets are questionable sometimes that they make, but this is the first time I've seen them actually use like a head in their mouth like that.
yeah, so it's just
You know?
it's
I
just
know
like wow.
I know the purpose is to be funny. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, and the fact that they well, it came out that like yeah, that Deadpool is going to design it, and it's like wow, like okay, so you guys had no limits, no filter on this, so you just went screw it and just went no holds barred on it. Okay, like I guess so. And either way you look at it, if it's filled with popcorn or it's not, it's still like oh my god.
No, for real. It's just I don't know. I mean, I think the bucket itself is really cute. I just don't think it's a bucket they should have released for people because people are weird. So
Yeah, his the fact that it looks like something other than a popcorn bucket, it just shows how much they're going no holds barred on this thing. So, and I applaud Disney for you know not almost like not stopping it because they realize like hey okay, this is the character, this is like sense of humor, so
mhm.
let's just go with it. What do we have left to lose? But yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's just a I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just weird.
Unexplainable.
Yeah, very just let's not talk about it because people are just weird. Like
Yeah, picture's worth a
I
thousand
thought people were
words.
gonna I don't know for real. So
Well, here's what here's another thing that just came out. Um, Bill Skarsgård will officially return as Pennywise in the It prequel series.
mm,
So
look at that.
yeah, so they said next year for Max, and that's kind of cool.
It's kind of
So,
cool. That's great.
yeah,
That's great.
he'll continue
I
to
mean,
scare the crap out of us. But whatever. So there was that. They also, so I heard about this, and I don't know if this is true or not, but Pixar is reportedly considering making new sequels to Finding Nemo and The Incredibles. But from what I heard, they wanted to reboot them. So I don't know which is real, what's accurate, what's not. Because one source said yeah, they wanted to reboot them, and then another saying oh no, they actually want to make sequels to it. And it's okay, which is which,
right? Because I don't know. I heard that they're planning on releasing 3 movies every 2 years. That was the plan. It's 3 movies every 2 years. But apparently that it's not new movies. It's just bringing back sequels and spin-offs to movies that were hits for them.
Well, I mean, they already announced that they're doing an Inside Out series for Disney Plus. That's a spin-off.
Yeah, I saw that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did do an Incredibles movie or a spin-off to The Incredibles.
Or a third one so they can cap off the trilogy.
Basically.
Or even Finding Nemo. Make the third one and that's it. Just have that trilogy. You don't need to go Toy Story, where it's you have the trilogy and then you expand upon it, and then now you're expanding upon it again. It's not everything you guys had needs to be, a moneymaker thing, so you just gotta keep doing it.
Right. Which is weird, because I feel if they wanted to reboot stuff, it wouldn't be the movies. Well, I guess The Incredibles I understand, but Nemo, I feel shouldn't even be touched after what they already did their spin-off with Dory.
Yeah, and that happened. But the fact that it took them, I think it was 14 years to do a sequel to The Incredibles, and what was it I think about a little over a decade to do one for Finding Nemo, even though they kept putting their money into Cars, was to me idiotic. But
okay, the majority of car movies are fine. Just the last one and kind of the third one, I don't know what the hell they were doing half the time in that movie.
I mean, I don't know what the hell they were doing in the second movie or the third one.
I don't agree with you with the second one. The third one is weird.
The second is actually considered to be Pixar's worst movie, and I'm not just saying that to keep poking with a stick about it, but it's people have said in recent years they thought it was Cars 2, or it was Cars 3, or even it was the one about the dinosaur. I forget what that one.
Oh, good. Good Dinosaur? That one?
Yeah. I've heard many people say that one's considered one of the worst ones. So it's just that movie just didn't look interesting to me at all. So I'm okay, so a dinosaur taking a caveman across the planet. This is reminding me a lot of Ice Age. But
I mean, it's supposed to take place around the same time, anyways.
So they're connected. Got it.
Most of their newer movies, I just did not bother watching, and I don't regret any of it because it's kind of what the fuck was Wish? Wish was such a horrifying movie.
Yeah, well,
I didn't even get it.
That it wasn't even that turned me off on it. It was. There's two topics in movies where you are bound to get plot holes if you do not put a lot of time or effort into it, and that is time travel and wishes. And there's a lot of the why don't you do this? Why don't you just do this? So unless you're Back to the Future, where you take a trilogy to explain everything and put everything together in a nice package, and you don't need any more, and you don't need to over explain anything. It's there's bound to be plot holes. Even like like Avengers, like Endgame, where they did the time travel thing. It's like, okay, this works in this, but this also explains a lot of plot holes. But I'm able to oversee that because what you're showing me is fast paced awesomeness. So that's all right. But because so it's just those two topics, they're really just tricky to do, which is why, like, if you noticed, if you ever watched Rick and Morty, he has a box on his shelf called time travel stuff, and it's supposed to be a metaphor for time travel stories being on the shelf, which meaning we're not going to touch that. So they're basically saying, yeah, look, we'll travel dimensions, but that's different from time, because they said doing time traveling is just so chaotic and just insane that a plot hole is bound to happen. So but with a lot of like Disney and Pixar stuff, coming out recently, it's just like okay, like whatever. I don't really care for this. And also, did you see the trailer for Moana 2?
Stop. I don't even want to talk about that.
November. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they should really stop touching these Disney movies altogether.
From what I could gather with that, it takes place a little bit after the first movie. And it looks like she is trying to find like new maybe resources. It's kind of what I'm like gathering from that. But from what they show in the trailer, it's just like, oh, you're showing that again. Oh, you're showing this. You're showing this. You're showing this. And it's like, okay, all right, like whatever. I thought, unfortunately with me, I think a lot of Disney movies, they're fine, like on my first viewing, where it's like, yeah, okay, that was cute. And then over time, it's just like, okay, this kind of got a little annoying. Unfortunately, Moana was one of them. Frozen was another. Where the first time I saw them, I was like, okay, they're cute. And then after that, I was kind of like, okay, these are being way overdone, like way overplayed. They're not the best movies ever. Like, just calm down. And yeah, and then they did a sequel to Frozen, and I was like, I don't really know a lot of people that asked for that. Even people that really liked the first movie. I was like, I don't think a lot of people were asking for another, but okay.
I guess, like, not to be anything, like, you're not saying it out of like, well, nobody asked for a second movie. It's just like, generally, like, what was there to add on to the first movie?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then it was like the same thing with like Toy Story 4. It was like the third one capped it off so great that it was like, okay, you don't need to do another one. But something I've learned about Pixar is if they want to do another Toy Story movie, they will not do it just for the money. They actually have another story they want to tell, and they'll actually put their heart and soul and effort into doing it. So that's what I've learned. But it's just like they'll put time into Cars, which think the way you want to think, but then they do something like Planes, where I'm just like, yeah, this could have been on TV.
Planes. I don't think I've seen that movie yet.
It's basically Cars but planes.
Well, I
and the fact
and
the fact that they were trying to it started out with like a new brand of their World of Cars. It's like, oh, screw off. I'm not buying into this bullshit. But no, I know it's people that like that movie. Just for me, it's like, yeah, I could have easily watched this on TV. And what I heard was that movie was actually supposed to be a direct-to-video release, but then Disney stopped doing that. So they said, okay, like let's not do direct-to-video movies anymore. Let's just release this in theaters and milk some more bucks out of those kids. So,
Oh my God.
so yeah. So and then the second one, which was kind of like this kind of felt like it felt like this. The second one felt like it felt like a video game where they make another one, and then you're playing it and you go, I feel like this was a DLC, but they just said, hey, screw it, let's just put a few more dollars into this and make it a full-time game. It felt like that. So it was like I really didn't need to. It was like that side mission you start playing, and then the end product, you're just going like, wow, that I didn't really need to do that, did I? It was pointless. There was no effort to do that. So why did I do it? But that's just me. But yeah, I really have lost interest in a lot of Disney and Pixar stuff because I'm going like, okay, wake me up when you do something new. Like you don't just take a topic and just go, hey, let's just do this, and really don't put a whole lot of time and effort into it. Wake me up when you go back to doing that kind of stuff. Like, I will wake up if you do, if you do like another like movies like Finding Nemo or The Incredibles or even like Bug's Life, where you did something new and original. And I'll wake up, I'll listen. But for right now, it's like okay, like whatever. I kind of thought that Pixar was going a little downhill after Cars, but then they were doing like WALL-E and then Toy Story 3, and it was like, oh, okay. So maybe that was just like not necessarily a bump, more like a pothole, where it's like whoops, okay, no, we're fine. Sorry.
Cars 3 was just one of those movies where they try to. I think it was like around that Me Too movement, dude. Like I don't know. It was during some form of like women's movement.
I think
that's it threw off the whole entire story. I understood like the premise of Cars 3.
Yeah.
But it did not work out the way that they wanted it to because it was just stupid the way that they did it.
Yeah, and then from
easily introduced everything that they did in that movie in other forms. Like, of course, McQueen's an old car. Of course, he's not going to be able to keep up with any supercar from now. Yeah. So
but I think they lost it around like Cars 2, because then after that it was like okay, you guys are doing some good movies, but you're mostly doing some stinkers. So it was like okay, and then I still don't understand why Brave won Best Animated Feature and not like Wreck-It Ralph or like any of those other ones that were nominated. It was just like a what? Like okay.
The movie, Brave?
Yeah.
Like the princess film?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I was just like, this one just is really boring. Yeah, like...
Okay, Brave wasn't boring. It had a good story. It's just it didn't deserve to win that award. Well,
and then what I hated about that particular Oscars is, like that... Let's see, there was Brave, it was Wreck-It Ralph, that Aardman Pirates movie, Paranorman, and I forget another movie, but there was two movies that I liked that year that didn't even get nominated. That it was like they shut them out, and that was Hotel Transylvania and shoot, what was the other one? It was a DreamWorks one where it was like all like the holidays.
What's it called? Guardians?
Yes. Yeah, it was that movie. It was those two movies. When I was like, yeah, I like these ones a lot more. But they just got shut out. which
What's the soundtrack?
sucks.
Guardians was such a good movie.
It's such an underrated DreamWorks movie. I don't think enough people talk about it.
No.
Mainly because I
Me
know a
too,
lot of people that just didn't understand it. It's like, what are you talking about? So then DreamWorks does Trolls, and it's like, this is what you wanted. That right there,
I still have yet to see the new one.
They gave us DreamWorks gave us gold with Rise of the Guardians and Puss in Boots, and you want more Trolls? You want that pile of crap?
I didn't say I wanted more Trolls. I just haven't watched the movie.
I heard people after the first one, they're like, "Yeah, okay, we don't need more." And look at that, they've done two other movies.
Like 2 more after the first one.
Well, and then I heard they're trying to. Well, and then what I've heard is they're trying to plan more of it. And it's just like, no,
why?
No, money. And it's like, you guys want to make really good movies? Make more like Puss in Boots movies. They've already planned to do Kung Fu Panda 5. They're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with Shrek. I wouldn't mind if they did another Rise of the Guardian movies, because that first one was so good. So, so it's like you have stuff here, but you're just not doing it. But oh well. But yeah, so I've lost interest in a lot of like Disney Pixar stuff, because it's just like, you guys aren't doing anything original. You guys aren't doing stuff that are catching my eye, that make me like sit up and go, "Oh, that's an interesting thing." So yeah, it's just like, if you're not going to do that, then I'm just going to remain asleep.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I don't know. I feel like maybe that's why they take so long to release movies. But their scheduling with releasing stuff now is pretty consistent. Every 2 years, kind of keeps up with what other companies are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no use if the movie's gonna be absolute shit. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can put in much money as you want, but at the end of the day, it has to do with if the movie is good or not.
Mm-hmm.
But
so,
speaking of movies that are good or not, let's talk about our favorite series. Because, like what we said last time, content. So.
All right. This time I do have not a hefty list, but I do have at least 10.
I have.
So.
I actually have 10 as well.
Oh, great!
Look at that. We're in sync. So, I have 9 movies, and then I put a TV show in there because I didn't know like what we were gonna do. But the TV show has a film, but I can get to that, and that'll be like I just threw this in here. But so if you want to start out, which one do you have first?
Okay, I think let's go with the classic. I'm gonna put the Indiana Jones series out.
Mm-hmm. Which one is your favorite? Out of the movies,
it's either going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark or Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I can't really choose between the two, so it's either the first or the fourth one.
I'm just gonna say this. I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull gets a bad rap. I don't think it's as bad as people say, but I will say there are parts in it where I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of dumb. Mainly around the third act. I mean, in the fourth movie, when you have Indiana Jones survive a nuclear blast by hiding in a fridge, you either have to buy it from that point or you don't. And at that point, that's the fourth movie, and there's stuff from all 3 films up to that point that are like, yeah, you kind of have to buy some crap in order to go along with this. I've only seen the first 4. I still haven't seen Duel of Destiny yet. Still haven't seen that. My favorite, it's Raiders.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think Raiders is amazing. Last Crusade is amazing, and I know this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I personally think Kingdom is better than Temple. I just I
Okay.
don't I just don't care for Temple. I'm just like, okay, this is kind of cool, and it's cool that it's a prequel, and Short Round is awesome, but it's just something about it, and then it didn't help that I forget her name, but Indiana Jones's love interest, who's actually played by Steven Spielberg's wife. And it's just like, yeah,
Right.
one, I just don't think you can act, and two, your character just sucks. So if you get killed, I don't care.
Okay, fair enough.
But
Fair enough.
that's just me. But you know, I definitely love the adventure, and yeah, if I liked maybe Temple a little bit more, I would have put that down. But I do agree, like that is a pretty good series.
Yeah, regardless of how bad some of these scenes are, it's a pretty good series. It's a known series too. Started in 1981, and last one was in 2023. Which that movie was not what I expected it to be, but
And I've heard it's
know.
pretty
I-
like you know like you have to
If
watch
I
it to
had
make
to
up your
give
own
it-
mind.
it's like if you skimmed through an Indiana Jones book and you made a movie out of that information you just skimmed out of.
Oh,
That's
so
basically what that
so
movie
it's
was.
basically like you go to the first page and you're just like, okay, Indiana Jones, okay, and then you just flip to like page 11 and just go, okay, it's set in this, okay. Is it like that? Like you're getting like
That's
cliff
a nice
notes?
way to put it. Yeah, it's kind of like if you read the summary in the back of the book and then made a movie out
Oh,
of it.
damn. So
I'm sure some people
expectations
liked it,
lower?
but like for an ending Indiana Jones movie, that's kind of it was not
mhm,
it was
Wow.
not good in my opinion at least.
damn. So when I do eventually watch it, keep expectations low.
Very low.
Okay.
It's still an indie movie. It's just not a very
It's
good
just
one.
it feels hollow
It'll make
inside.
you like Temple a lot more. Oh yeah,
Mm.
I know it's supposed to be like a letting go of indie movie, but like
Well, it's supposed to be the last one he's gonna do.
yeah,
So-
yeah, it's the complete ending to his at least. If they're gonna bring back Indiana Jones, it's not gonna be with
Ford.
what's his face, Harrison Ford. Yeah, so Indy itself probably might come back, but it's just not gonna be Harrison Ford. But this is the end of Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones.
I would personally say if they wanted to keep Indiana Jones going, do more of the young Indiana Jones movies.
Right?
So I'm down with that.
Yeah, they've introduced an actor for Indy in one of the movies, which I wouldn't
Well,
mind seeing.
it
come back
was
for Indiana.
the person that plays young Indiana Jones in the beginning of Last Crusade, that's River Phoenix, and he's dead.
Oh,
Um,
I did not know.
yeah, Joaquin Phoenix's dad.
Wow.
So, but if they wanted to continue to do more Indiana Jones stuff, yeah, try doing more like the young Indiana Jones movies, because I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like what DC's gonna do with Superman, but at least let the actor know he's gonna get retired before
Well,
he starts scheduling shit.
well, we'll see how that goes.
So, all right, go ahead.
Cool.
What's yours?
The first one I'm putting in, it's a gimme. It's Ghostbusters, and
Of course,
yeah, of course. I mean, I've talked about it. I've talked about it before, so I won't dive too deep onto it. But I adore the first movie. Two, I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. Does it feel like a hardened copy of the first one? Yes, but is it still fun and entertaining? Absolutely. There's always that one movie in a series where you just don't want to approach it and leave it in the trash. Uh, I'm just, gonna say what the next one was and just move on. Reboot. Um, but then they said, okay, well, sorry about that trash. So let's move back and rethink this. And they did it with Afterlife, and then they just continued it with Frozen Empire. And Afterlife was just like, oh, this is like this is what we needed. Like, this is what we needed to get this back on track. And then Frozen Empire came out, which was fun. I did have problems with it, but it was overall pretty fun. And I think if you are a Ghostbusters fan, you will like that movie. And right now, I know they're still trying to do a series for Netflix. They're trying to do an animated movie with Sony Pictures Animation. They're trying to think of another movie that continues the story. And yeah, so right now it seems like it's back on track, which is awesome to see. So I love it. So like I said, it was kind of a gimme, so that's why I just trying to skim through that as fast as possible. So because I've talked about it before, and I don't want to talk about it more to the point where people want to rip their ears out because they're like, I've heard this crap before. So, but yeah, that's why that's there. So, yeah. So, next up for you.
I'm gonna go with the Die Hard series, the not so Christmas movie.
Yeah, bullshit.
I don't know if it was intentional or not.
I don't think it was. And then as they were doing it, I'm pretty sure they were just like, maybe we can, make this seem like a Christmas movie. So that happens a lot. They're never intentional. But so, which one is your favorite? The original?
The first one. Out of all, what is it? Five of them?
Yes.
I think the first one. Yeah. Die Hard 1 was fine. Die Hard 2 was fine. Vengeance was okay. Live Free or Die Hard. Okay. Good Day to Die Hard.
Sucks ass through a straw.
Like, it never exists. It never existed in my brain. I can deal with the 3 and 4, but the 5th one is
really 3 and 4. I can deal with 4 because personally I liked 3. But personally, I like 3 more than 2.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little backwards. I'll do them in order, really. Like, as they go on, the less
they start going downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first 3, fine. They're great.
Yeah.
The 4th one, I will give it the most minimal pass, and then the Good to Die Hard can go literally kill itself into the trash can and pretend.
Good Day to Die Hard. I wish they go and do it.
And I heard they're doing another one, which is just called McClane or Die Hard.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I don't know either.
Because especially that Bruce Willis is now retired. The only way they could potentially do it is if they make they have another actor do it. So they could get Joseph Gordon-Levitt to do it because he did that. He was basically a younger version of Bruce Willis in Looper. So they could do it.
They could. That's so true.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I don't want Bruce Willis to come back, not because he's a bad actor, but because of his, all the medical stuff that's...
Well, it's not just that, but it's also the fact that, now he's older, so he can't do any of that stuff anymore, especially when you watch 5, when he's just a special effect in that movie. In the first 3 movies, it seemed like, he was... I would say the first 2 and maybe parts of the 3rd, he definitely felt like, just an everyday man. Like, he bled. When in 4, he became one of the Avengers. And then 5, he was just a special effect. So it was like, oh, come on, dude. The fact that you can be thrown 20 stories off of a building and land on the street below, not a broken bone. It's like you fall out of it's it's like if you fell, like if you were on the top floor of the Burj Khalifa and you fell outside and landed on the floor and you got back up and you were just like, ow, I got a splinter. It's like that. It's just like, yeah, every aspect of John McClane that made this character likable and just so awesome. By the time it got to the fifth movie, it was all gone. So, yeah, I agree. That movie does not exist.
Yeah. As much as I don't want to be rude, but I think it got like a 15% tomato rating or something like that.
It deserves lower.
That's how bad it is. It deserves lower. Tomato being the most
who are those
company.
Who are those four people that like that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I the first movie is definitely a movie I try to watch every Christmas. There's three movies that I try to watch every Christmas. That movie is the first one is one of them. So yeah, it's Die Hard, The Ref, and Nightmare Before Christmas. Like those are the three that I'm like, okay, I have to watch every Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah.
Because Die Hard, it's a classic Christmas movie. The Ref, because it's a hilarious Christmas movie about relationship problems. And then Nightmare Before Christmas, well, that's self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah. But yeah, I do agree. I liked, the first three Die Hards I can definitely like watch. Just, I'm like, yeah, I'll watch those. 4, I'll be like, okay, I'll watch it, and then get to a certain point where I'm like, oh yeah, this part. And then, that's it. There's only 4 of them.
You're right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's cool.
It's your turn, bud.
Evil Dead. Because reasons. I think the first movie is okay by today's standards. 2 is great. 3, I love that one. That one's my favorite, unfortunately, for a lot of people. The remake, I don't even think it's as bad as people say it is. There's a lot of parts in the remake that I'm like, okay, I wish you didn't do this, but I'm like, okay, whatever, you did a job. The Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series, great. And then Evil Dead Rise was so, like, surprisingly great. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then they just announced they're working on 2 more. So it's like, really? I will take more Evil Dead movies. Yeah. Their plan is to now do an Evil Dead movie, I think, every 3-4 years. And it's just like, you have my vote. You have my vote. I'll do it. Like, I'll watch them. But yeah, so especially like when Evil Dead Rise came out, no one knew, like, wow, we actually got the series back on track. And like, because at that point it was pretty much considered the series was dead at that point, no pun intended. But then Evil Dead Rise came out and was like, wow, this is back up, baby. Let's get it rolling again. Which is great. I love it. So, yeah, Evil Dead, the Evil Dead series, I'm a stickler for horror comedies. I love the genre. And Evil Dead is definitely one of the kings of... Seriously, we need to hail to the king on that one.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that much. So. It is a pretty good series and pretty good movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, wait until you watch Rise. Rise is just like, oh my god, this is great, but wow. I would definitely put, like, I mean, the Evil Dead series, it's definitely, I would say the originals, I would say, yeah, you could probably eat during them, but then once you get to, I would say the remake, and especially Evil Dead Rise, it's like you might not want to eat during that. Especially Rise.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. So, but yeah, that one's there. So, next up for you.
All right, next up For me, would be the Mission Impossible with good old Mr. Tom Cruise.
Running Tom Cruise, running from who knows what.
Beats me.
He's just, it's like a Family Guy. They did a cutaway gag where it's like, yeah, like that makes more sense than the reason why Tom Cruise runs in all of his movies. And it's a cutaway where it's just Tom Cruise just standing there, and then there's a thought bubble, and it's him. And he goes, "Wow, that cameraman has nice strong arms." And then all of a sudden he starts running. He's like, "Yeah, you can't catch me. You can't catch me, gay thoughts."
Oh my god, bro. Yeah.
I still find that funny, but he's just running, like, you know, especially when he's running, he looks like a track and field star, but it also looks like with his arms, it looks like he's karate chopping. But, you know, it's entertaining. I would definitely say the Mission Impossible series. I would say in the start, it started like going in like an up and down roller coaster, and then I would say after 4, it was at a steady like a steady go. Because yeah, personally, I haven't seen 1 through 3 in a while. 4 I remember quite well. And then 5 I've only seen once, and I don't remember really caring for that one. 6 I thought was really good. And then 7 I was like, okay, this is good. This could have been better. But yeah, so it was also a series where like each movie was a different director. Like the first one, it was Brian De Palma. The second was John Woo. Third was J.J. Abrams. Fourth was Brad Bird. Mm-hmm. And then starting with 5 and then went to 6, 7, and now 8, it's Christopher McQuarrie, who it looks like he's like indebted to Tom Cruise, because ever since that, they started like working on like every movie that Tom Cruise is in. Like even if he's not directing it, he's like a part of it. So it's like it seems like he's like his personal producer director. So it's like if Tom Cruise is going to do another movie, I'm pretty sure they go to him first and say like, hey, Kate, who do you want to direct? Like, okay, I want this guy. Because, you know, it's like that trust relationship. But yeah, so it's definitely a cool series. You know, they definitely, you know, had their dips, like especially I think with 2, it was just kind of getting a little bit ridiculous, but you know, we all have those.
Oh yeah, what action movie doesn't get ridiculous after a while? I mean, I feel like Tom Cruise will keep doing them until he's in a wheelchair. Really,
he'll jump out of an airplane in a wheelchair.
Very much so. And we have next year to look forward to the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2.
They're no longer calling it that. It's now just not? No. It's now the Part 1 is now just Dead Reckoning. So the next movie is going to be called something else. They announced that.
What? So dumb. I don't understand. But okay.
Speaking of that, did you hear what happened recently?
Yeah. What?
Mission Impossible 8 has been delayed because, guess what? So you know how they have like a crazy stunt like every movie? Well, apparently with this one, they have a certain vehicle that wasn't working. And especially what's been going on last couple of years with this machinery, they should really have known better. They had a malfunction with a submarine.
Oh.
And it's like, guys, have you not looked at the past couple of years? Like, I would steer clear from it personally, but you know what, Tom Cruise, you were just clinically insane. So, you know, there's no stopping you. Like, did you hear what he talked to Matt Damon about Mission Impossible 4 and the whole Burj Khalifa thing?
No.
So, Matt Damon and Tom Cruise had dinner one day, And this was like right after Mission Impossible 4 came out, and Damon asked him like, "So how did you like do that? How like because in 4 he's climbing the Burj Khalifa on the outside, and he asked him like, so how did you get that to go?" And then Tom Cruise just goes, "So I get the safety guy. I'm going to tell him this is what I'm going to do. I explain the whole thing to him. The safety guy goes, that's way too dangerous. You can't do that." So he got another safety guy. So basically, he was going to find somebody that was going to say yes. Because, he just won't take no. He won't take no for answers. And I'm just like, there's a thing called CGI. You don't need to do all of that. That's one of the few times we'll say, okay, you're doing CGI for this. That's totally fine. So, yeah.
Dang.
He's insane. But, he makes tons of money doing insane things, so whatever. Yeah, the Mission Impossible series is fun.
Yeah, I like them. I feel like some of them, obviously it gets kind of boring if you watch them like back to back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same old in every movie. It's always gonna be like a reference to the previous movies in every single movie. So obviously if you watch them back to back, you're either one of the two watchers. You either get bored of them right away, or you're excited that you just saw the last one when you understand the reference in the new one.
Yeah.
Overall, I agree. They're a great series to just binge watch, and it's still ongoing until Tom Cruise dies. So
yeah, I mean, did you see the video of him saying thank you for supporting Top Gun Maverick?
No, I didn't.
They were filming Mission Impossible 7 at the time, and he's up in a plane and saying like, "Yeah, I'd like to say thank you," and then he jumps out of the plane. And he's still saying thank you on his way down.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, you can just say thank you, just a thank you. You don't need to do this. But then again, you are Tom Cruise. You will... my God, dude. Yeah. Wonder what he'll do when he says happy birthday.
Oh my God.
He'll be standing on a moving car, just like, just standing there, just like, hey, happy birthday. Oh, wait, hold on, I gotta jump off. Yeah. Insane man. Oh.
All right, what's yours next?
My next one is John Wick.
Okay, I have that on my list too.
There we go. We got a twofer. Because it seemed to me like the John Wick movies got better over time. Like what you were talking about with Die Hard, they started going downhill from after the first one. With me, John Wick, it rose up after the first one. And, it's just great. It's great to see, the stunt choreographers or stunt people actually in control of the movie, and you actually see the fights, and you see it's the actual actor doing it, like back in like the 80s. So it's like, this is great. Yeah, John Wick is great, and if they do 5, great. If not, 4 is a good cap off. I know they have the ballerina movie that's coming out next year. They're thinking of doing, or they're thinking of doing it, or they already announced it. They're doing a spin-off movie or series. I think it's a movie with Kane, with Donnie Yen's character from 4.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, interesting. And then I don't know what they're doing with the Continental show. I think it was just supposed to be like a one-off show, but so the John Wick series is definitely not going anywhere.
No, I don't think so. And it's going to become a classic like every other series we have on our list.
Yeah.
because it's such a good movie. It does not go downwards. It really just it'll either stay on the same pace as the previous movie or be compared to the first movie, and there's no changes to plot or anything because it's that good. It's
the world building that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they just say like, oh yeah, this is what we use. They don't. It's like, like even like something like the coins they use. Like this is their currency. Okay, that's it. They just show it. They don't say like, hey, we use these coins for da 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 da. They're just like, okay, that'll be a coin. Bam. There you go. And you're immediately just like, oh, so okay, that's their currency. That's what they use. They don't over explain it to, make you feel like an idiot. And that's the whole like show don't tell, and that's what I love about that series is that it's so like world building, and it's just so subtle in the way they do it. Like the fact that there are continentals everywhere. So like, first one it's New York, second one it's Italy, or it was Rome, I think. I think it was Rome in the second one. Third it was Casablanca. 4, I believe it was Tokyo.
It was indeed Tokyo. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I love how it's just so like they don't tell you like, oh yeah, there's a continental here. It's just like he just goes there and it's like, oh, that's that. There's one right there. Okay, cool. So it's international. It's not just like an underground thing like the first movie, makes it out to be. No, it's actually international.
Which is fun because it's kind of like a guessing game of where the Continental's going to be in the next movie. Or where spin-offs are going to take place because they can either continue showing us different Continentals or they can just bring back Continentals that were already placed in previous movies.
I like to see a Continental in Los Angeles. It's like, it's the only thing that's not touched from graffiti.
I know.
So it's just like this big tall building. It's like nice and pristine and clean looking, but then all the other buildings around it, it's just all just like run down, like graffitied on.
That's so funny. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know how they managed to like stay so secret, but I understand it's kind of like a hotel experience. It's supposed to be like the underground thing.
Yeah, you'll get still, I feel like hitman hotel, an assassin hotel.
That's just me then.
Yeah. If you're an assassin and you want like a nice stay, go to the assassin hotel. If you have a problem, there's an assassin doctor. You go get an assassin cocktail, and listen to the assassin band. It's great. And they're just so like subtle about it. Just like, yeah, this is here. Why? Who cares? Just go.
Who cares?
Yeah, I love that series.
Me too.
Next one up for you?
Next one up. Not sure how much you agree on this, but the Hunger Games.
I wouldn't agree because I've only seen the first one. I've seen the second one. I've seen like half of the second one. But I've only seen the first one. And I did like the first one. It's just, it was... I remember, I saw the first one. It was actually in elementary school when I saw it. It was like the last year of elementary school before I went to middle school. We were reading Hunger Games, and then we watched the movie. And then we read Catching Fire, and then we only were able to see half the movie before, we were no longer elementary school kids. So never got the chance to finish it.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I do know a lot of people that like that series.
I like it. I quite liked all of them. I didn't think the story kind of went off or went down. It was really just a continuing streak, which is what I liked about it. That's why I'm putting on here. Not necessarily because I like the entire thing, but just because it really did keep the consistent story. Like it didn't change anything or it didn't, stray off from the original.
Yeah.
Like it was always...
I have a couple on here that are like that, where I'm just like, okay, I wouldn't necessarily put these as like a favorite, but I do recognize like, okay, there is like some quality in here that I actually did like. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, like would I go back and binge watch The Hunger Games? No, because I'd probably get bored. But I will say that out of the majority of some film series, I think this one really does show that it's not that freaking hard to stay on the storyline. I haven't seen the new one, which is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Oh, the prequel.
I heard it was really good though.
I've heard different things. I've heard people saying like it's good. I've heard some people say like it's just whatever, because I feel like at this point people are just like we don't need any more Hunger Games movies. We just don't. But no, I don't know that, because like I said, I've only seen the first one in its entirety, so I really can't say anything like why we need more until I actually see the whole series. Then I'll be able to decide. But but I do like I did like the first one. And then from what I did see of the second one, I was liking the second one. So yeah, one of these days I'll go in and watch the whole series. It's just every time when I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna like watch a series, I keep forgetting that's one.
Fair enough. I feel like it is like a movie series that you'll quite enjoy watching it, but it's not something you'll pick up because you want to pick up. It's kind of like, oh, you know what? I haven't seen The Hunger Games yet. Let me put it on, and you'll be pleasantly surprised how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just not like let me put it underneath my comfort movies and something I'll watch when I'm bored type of movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is not wrong of movies to feel that way though. Like some movies are just kind of like the one-time experience. It's nice, and that's it really. So, but anyways, it's your turn.
Back to the Future trilogy.
I have that one too.
That movie manages to take time travel and make it make sense, put it in a nice like package, which is 3 movies, and we don't need another one. It doesn't need to be overly explained. We don't need unnecessary sequels. We don't need an unnecessary reboot where it's going to be Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. doing it. We don't need that. Whatever. Even Holland said like, oh, I'm not doing that. Like, no. Yeah, Holland was just like, yeah, if you're going to do that, you'll just make any movie now. And it's like, you really don't know what's going on with Hollywood, do you? They'll touch anything. Why? Because it's old.
Yeah, that's literally the only reason they'll do it, is because it's old, it made money, and
we can make more money.
So let's bring the classic back.
Yeah.
And sometimes you think that they'll actually make more money. Like, did they not learn after touching Ghostbusters one too many times?
And they
made that horrendous one that we don't talk about.
Yeah. That one horrendous one that doesn't exist, But
exactly.
That's So, and Back to the Future, it was pretty much the movie that it didn't launch Michael J. Fox's career, but it definitely like made him a superstar, because he did Teen Wolf. And then was doing Family Ties. Like, as he was doing Back to the Future, he was doing Family Ties. So he had a hit show, and then now he has a hit movie. So, boom, he's now a superstar. So yeah. And I knew, Christopher Lloyd, he did a couple movies before that, like Clue, or like Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. So he had a couple of things under his belt, and even like he did a TV sitcom in the early 80s. But
right.
So it was like everyone were known names. It's just they didn't really have a whole lot of things to their credit at that point. I mean, hell, like Crispin Glover, I think the only thing he had that I knew him from before that was Friday the 13th Part 4.
Oh, that's it. Huh?
Yeah. And it was his signature dance moves, and if you see in the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You seen Friday the 13th, the final chapter?
I haven't really caught up on the Friday the 13th series either.
Okay, you want just popcorn stupidity? Put that series on, because each one is short. They're like barely an hour and a half, so it's a pretty short series. but there's just a ton of movies. But in that movie, there's a scene where he's dancing, and his dance moves are just incredible. So yeah, if you want to laugh, like if you need a laugh or something, look up Crispin Glover's dance scene in Friday the 13th part 4. You really just look up.
Okay.
You can really just look up Crispin Glover dance, and that's what you'll get, because it's just amazing. So, but and then. So yeah, it's a great trilogy. Personally, my favorite's the first one. When I was a kid, it was 2, because I was just like, whoa, look at all these special effects, look at the future, and then looking at it later, it was like, okay, yeah, it's the first one, it's the original. But yeah, it's a great trilogy, and it's the definition of fun. So yeah, that's why I have it. Next up for you.
Right. I agree with you. Oh, yeah. For me, I guess I'll just have to go with one I keep yapping about, which is Fast and Furious. Now, when I say Fast and Furious, I mean up until the 7th movie, and then from there, I don't talk about it.
You don't talk about the 7th movie?
I don't want to talk about the 7th movie.
Why? That one was done by James Wan, who did The Conjuring.
I know.
Okay, fine. Yeah, see, again, that's another series where it's much like The Hunger Games. I haven't seen all the movies. I've seen the first 3 for sure. I know I've seen up till Tokyo Drift. And then I haven't seen 4 through 10, and they're shooting 11 right now. Which will come out, I think they said next year. But yeah, it's one of those series where I'm just like, I hear things about it, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. But then I see the trailer for it. I'm just like, wow, you guys have no shame. You're really doing this? Okay, great. Like, whatever. You guys have no story. And to me, that's what's turning me off on that.
I'll agree with you that I know they said that they were supposed to end it off at 9, or at least at X.
They said that 9. They said that 9 was supposed to be start a new trilogy that would end the series. And when they said that, I'm like, yeah, you're full of shit. You'll say 11 is the last one, but then you'll see how much money you're losing out on, and you'll say, hey, they're all resurrected back. How? We don't know. Just go. Or if they wanted to do this, if they wanted to kill them off, and then if they decide to come back in 12, they could pull like one of the Friday 13th movies is he gets brought back he gets stabbed by a pole that's electrical. He gets struck by lightning, and all of a sudden he comes back to life. Or if you want to do something like Nightmare on Elm Street, he gets brought back by a dog pissing fire on his ashes, and he's just back.
Stop it.
I'm not making that up.
I bet you're not.
Yeah. That was Friday 13th Part 6, which, to be honest, is one of my favorite ones in that series. And the Nightmare on Elm Street one, that was 4. That was beginning of... Yeah, that was 4. Which is one of the worst ones. It went to me when the series started just going completely idiotic. So... But if they wanted to do that, they can, because I know they've killed people off in the series, and they just bring them back. Why? Because they lost money. They want more money. So it's just I can't with that series.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I feel like the only reason I don't like talking about 7 is because that's the last movie Paul Walker did before he died. Mm-hmm. And
I heard 7 was one of the. I heard 7 was one of the better ones.
It is one of the better ones. I don't like talking about it because I get emotional, but
oh yeah.
Because once 8 was okay. What the fuck? Why is there a spaceship in the sky? Right?
Fate was that Fate?
Yeah, And then 9 was even worse than 8, and then X was even worse than 9.
Well, and to be honest, like with 9, like the whole like idea of John Cena being Vin Diesel's brothers, like I can't see that at all.
Well, they're not supposed to be twins, you know. But
is that actually what they say? They're supposed to be twins?
No, they're not supposed to be twins.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I was about to say, like, if they said in the movie that they were going to say that they're twins, man, I'm not touching that movie with a 10-foot cattle prod. Like, no.
That would be even worse than just.
But I do understand like the Fast and Furious, like those are just like stupid fun popcorn movies.
Oh, 100%. I feel like the first, maybe up until Tokyo Drift, where you stopped watching, is like, it's like realistic, but also you realize you can't do that shit with your car, right?
Yeah, you really can't do karate with your cars.
Yeah. And after that, it's kind of just Vin Diesel somehow surviving an explosion with his car and driving off from the flames. I'm like, sorry, you have been dead for 5 movies. First 5 minutes,
fast. And then after that, it's just total stupid chaos. In the last 5 minutes of the movie, it's family. That's it. That's all they do. That's every single movie. Okay, I'm not judging. I'm just making fun of it.
No.
But yeah.
But yeah.
The next one, I know you've seen the first movie and you didn't particularly care for it. The VHS series. And here's why.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for anthology stuff. In fact, I have another one that's coming up soon that is anthology stuff. I'm a sucker for that. I know not a lot of people do, but I like it. And the VHS series is a great way for independent filmmakers to get their voices heard. Like a lot of big time like directors working today got their start doing this series. Like Adam Wingard, who went on to do the 2 Godzilla vs. Kong movies. He did a segment in the first 2 movies. The group known as Radio Silence, who just did like Ready or Not, and then Scream 5 and 6, and then just did Abigail. They did a segment in the first one. The director of the Blair Witch Project did a segment in 2, which that segment is way better than the entirety of the Blair Witch series. Yes, I said series. Because I hate all three of those goddamn movies. They all suck. They all suck. But so it's like, and then in the newest one, 85, that one has like David Bruckner, who did this cool little movie called The Night House. And the Hellraiser reboot for Hulu, which was pretty good. And also Scott Derrickson, who did like Sinister and then The Black Phone, and then Doctor Strange. So it's a lot of those like, oh crap, they're doing this? Like, that's cool. So it's a lot of like those like low grade independent filmmakers. It's getting their voices heard, and then all of a sudden now they're doing bigger projects with big studios now. So it's really cool to see, and that's why I love it. And don't get me wrong, there's the one movie in this series that I hate with a passion. That's the third one, Viral. And originally it was only supposed to be 3 movies because they didn't know what they were going to do after that. But then a couple years ago, Shudder got the rights to it and said, hey, we'll produce more. And they produced 3 more movies. So right now there's 6 of them. And right now they're doing a 7th. So it's definitely a series where, you know, it's not like a continuous story. It's like, you know, see like little vignettes from people. So the series can continue as long as they want. But I'm I'm a stickler for horror stuff. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But I'm also a stickler for anthology stuff, and I do think that the VHS series is definitely, I think, one of the more underrated ones. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're not a fan of gore or at times disturbing stuff, stay away from that series. Because, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. I will say that. It's not a series for everyone, but I enjoy it, so that's why I have it on here. But,
yeah, I mean, I only watched one.
You only saw the first one, and you were just like, yeah, no. Which is understandable. Like I said, it's not for everybody.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
I can handle so much.
Yeah, well,
they're not
if you,
because I know that they're not real.
Well, and then especially if you're like, yeah, the first one was too much, yeah, the second one will just, you might have to go to an asylum on the second one. Because the first one being like, there's a lot of like, there's quite a bit of like gore and like nudity and like all that adult stuff. The second one just says, hey, we're gonna tone down on the nudity. There's still some in there, but they just say, hey, screw it. We're just gonna be like, we're gonna take a room that's painted white and try to make the walls painted red. But we don't have any paint. We have this fake blood. Just throw it all over the wall. That's basically 2. So yeah, if you don't like gore, stay away from that series. Because man, there's a lot. But it's cool. Some of the stories they were able to tell through that, and some of them are like really cool and creative. And yeah, I like that series, but it's definitely not for everybody. So, next up for you.
Did I say Terminator yet? No, huh?
No, you did not.
Well, then the Terminator series. Like,
I would agree with the first 2.
I will agree as well.
I mean, okay, each movie there's at least a moment in every movie for me that I'm like, okay, that was cool. But it's mainly the first 2 that I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Yep. Yeah. It's only until after 3 they were just like, you know what? The timeline makes no sense anymore, so we're just going to make this shit up as we go. Or retcon stuff like Genesis did. Where they're just saying, yeah, that first movie, it didn't happen like that. And I'm like, what? Okay, screw you.
Which I found very because I've been watching all of these now. And the one thing I didn't quite like was the way that they made Sarah Connor sleep with the future man and had a baby. And that baby grew up, fucked up. And then Salvation was just a whole other movie that's a fever dream. That's a fever dream of a movie. That's like, what the fuck did I just watch? I think I fell asleep towards the end of the movie because I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, so you fell asleep at the good part of that movie.
I did, because it was getting boring.
Yeah, because they showed you
almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, because the third act is when they showed you everything like you came there to see. So it's like, finally, we're seeing the good shit. And then Genesis came out, and it's just like,
anyway.
Yeah, and then Genesis came out, and yeah, that happened. Yeah, and they basically just said, "Hey, everything that happened, we're completely just like rewriting that shit." And it's like, what? Like, okay, how does that make any sense? So yeah, I don't know what they're currently doing with the series. I think it's currently in limbo right now. They don't know what to do with it.
I don't know, because after Dark Fate, I mean, yeah, it's open for like some things to like continue on the series, but I don't know. I think they should have just stopped after 3. So I don't know. I just don't. I'll be honest with you. The first 3 are fine. It's great. Sarah Connor, death to her child, it's consistent up until Salvation, which I don't even want to talk about right now. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And can't wait for the other 2 to even completely ruining the timeline.
Yeah.
Because it's already confusing how the time traveling works in this series.
Like I said, it's just the series is just is like completely like, oh god, Like, they don't even know what they're doing anymore.
Right. I mean, I did hear that James Cameron was writing a script for a new Terminator, but I don't know how James Cameron is going to save this series.
Yeah. Well, he was supposed to do the third Alien movie. He had an idea, but then they just completely just said, no, we're good.
Bruh.
So it was like, let's see. I want to see how that turned out. Yeah.
Bruh.
Well, right. Next one I have is the Scream series. Because the fact that they've been able to continue the series the way they have been, it still makes sense. It's still good, with the exception of 3. And kind of 4. It's pretty cool and creative. And, with the first one's the best. 2, pretty good. 3, no. That one can go away. 4, it's not until the third act that I actually liked it. And then 5 and 6, I did like those. And then currently 7, it seems like they're completely redoing stuff, because director dropped out of that one. Jenna Ortega dropped out because she was due to scheduling conflicts, which I think there's another reason for that, but and then Melissa Barra, I think, she was fired. And it was like, okay, so it's just a whole bunch of crap. It's like the movie just keeps getting, kicked on. So it's I don't know what they're doing right now. The last I heard, they got Neve Campbell back because she's in 5, she's not in 6. Because with 6 she was supposed to be in 6, but her and Paramount just couldn't decide on a deal, and she walked off. But now they managed to come back and say okay, yeah, we're back in it.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on with it right now, but I do appreciate the series being pretty consistent. With its movies, it all makes sense, and even with 6, they basically, there's a part in 6 where they basically say, oh, so you have to watch the other movies. Okay, all right, good thing I did, because the thing with 4 and 5 is that there was a big gap between those two, and 5, they do a couple things from 4. They bring a couple things from 4, but other than that, it's okay, you kind of could, you don't really need to watch the other movies. But with 6, they're no, you have to watch the other movies. So it's oh, okay, that's great. I'm glad we have to now. So
glad we have to. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's an interesting series, and it definitely keeps you on your toes. Because you're kind of going okay, who's going to get killed next? So
which is great, because that means that every movie is entertaining in its own.
Yeah, in its own right. I would say each movie is entertaining in its own right. I know a lot of people lost interest after 4, because I know a lot of people were 5 wasn't very good, and then people were saying 6 isn't very good. It's because it's not the way that you wanted it to go. That's why. But anyway, moving on. But yeah, I like the series. I think it's great. So, yeah. Next up.
This will be my last one, because you kind of marked out some that I already had on my list. So, Jurassic Park is my final one.
I know I've seen the Park movies, and I've only seen the first World movie. But yeah. So.
I mean, I kind of want to loop them in together, but they're really kind of all different in its respective ways,
Yeah. Well, and then right now they're working on another Jurassic movie.
Yeah, I heard it's like completely different to
Mm-hmm. So
this current one. I don't know if they're going to.
I think the last World movie, I think that was supposed to be the end.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see. If it makes money, they'll do it. They'll find a way.
They will 100% find a way. But I mean, Jurassic Park itself is pretty good. You know, you got Jeff Goldblum in that. They really didn't change much in Jurassic World other than like the setting of the dinosaur amusement park stuff.
I still think that's a bad idea, but you know,
dinosaur movie.
I still think it's a bad idea, but you know, that's just me.
That's everyone, dude. Everybody.
Not everyone.
Over $1,000 to go.
Listen, not everyone.
Not everyone.
I know Elon Musk said like, yeah, it's possible, and it's like, don't you fucking do it. Like, don't.
I'm sure he saw that we can artificially make babies now.
Still.
In a sack.
Still.
Like, you know what? Dinosaurs.
Still.
Okay.
Dude, still. They'll find a way. Yeah.
I know they will.
I would say it's definitely an interesting series. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite series. Because even with the first one, I have problems with it. But don't talk to my dad about Jurassic Park, because oh my god. When he was in high school, the movie just came out, and he had to do a book report, and so he asked his teacher like, hey, do you think I can do a book report on the book and then see the movie and then do like a comparison thing? And the teacher was like, yeah, sure. The book is very different than the movie, and my dad was pissed. Like, he read the book, he liked the book, and then he saw the movie, and he's just like, that movie was a piece of crap. It's nothing like the book. And I'm like, yeah, but you got to realize that's Hollywood. They'll do that. Even with like
based on the novel.
Yeah,
like the title was based on the novel, or
yeah, but yeah, everything was different. Like everything was different. I actually think my least favorite part of the first movie is those two kids. To me, they were useless. To me, I was just like, I was just going like, okay, just shut up, please. Like, stop talking. That's what it made me feel for it was Sam Neill's character, because in the movie he doesn't care for kids.
Yeah.
And I'm just going like, okay, that's just character trait. But then those two kids along the way, I'm just like, I'd be in his shoes. I would totally just torment them and just prank them. I'm just like, yeah, I just don't care. Two, I think it's it gets a lot of flack. Lost World.
Yeah.
And then 3, I don't even really remember what happened in 3. I lost interest once he was having the dream sequence and then the dinosaur was talking. I lost interest. I was like, the hell? What slipped into my food?
I don't like that because it's kind of like you're losing the purpose of like the movie.
Yeah.
What happened here? What happened between you? What the fuck?
And then World, I was just like, okay, this was good. Nothing I really need to see twice. But makes money.
Makes money.
Yeah.
That's all that matters in Hollywood sometimes.
Yeah. I do see why like people do like that series.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's decent enough.
Yeah,
that's all that matters. I guess. But it is a comfort series. I mean, even if it's stupid, it's just dinosaurs. So
yeah. Oh yeah, that happens. I have 4 more. I will skim through them as fast as possible. Next one, I have the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yep, good one right there.
Because Christopher Nolan took the Dark Knight's hands away from Joel Schumacher, who completely bastardized that and made it great again. And I was like, wow, see what happens? See what happens like when you don't put this into a Mardi Gras parade? Like, wow, it's actually it's like dark and look at that. Um, yeah, the first movie is pretty good. The second one is just absolutely amazing. Third one has some issues, but overall, pretty good. I did enjoy that one. And it's definitely, if you want to get into Batman, I would say that's a good one because it's dark, it takes itself seriously, and it's also a detective trilogy, which is exactly who Batman is. So I would say that's a good one. This one, I know not a lot of people are going to like this one, but I put the Saw series, and here's why. I have seen all 10. I've seen all 10 Saw films, and it's not because I put them on here because the gore or like just the pointless traps and stuff. There's an actual story going along. It's convoluted, and it's pretty much like, no pun intended, a jigsaw puzzle. So there's so many pieces. Like, in fact, like I think 2, 3, and 4, they take place in like a week. Or like, I'm sorry, like 3 and 4, I think take place like literally at the same time. So it's almost like you're going like, wait, so this is happening, like what, like whoa, like where are we going? So you almost need a map to figure it out, and the story is there. It's convoluted and at times pretty ridiculous, but it's an actual interesting story. And it's like, okay, so it's not just about the gore, and it's not until 10 where they go, okay, let's step back, let's put this in between 1 and 2, and it makes sense, and the gore is pretty, hardcore, and the traps are pretty like, whoa, like, wow, you guys definitely took a break and said, hey, let's get back to this. So that's why I have that. It's not just for like the creativity of some of the traps. There's an actual story going on. It's convoluted, but there is one there, and at times it is very interesting. And I wouldn't, if it wasn't, if the story was not there, then I wouldn't have this on the list. But I do have to recognize, like, there are parts in them where I'm like, okay, that is actually a pretty cool thing they're doing. So that, right. Yeah, I would definitely put this like on a low grade of, series. Like I said, if the story was not there, it wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have put it. Next one is the TV series I was talking about, The Twilight Zone. And okay. Because that show, even though it's in the 50s and 60s, it still works. It still works. And there's so many episodes where I went, oh, that sucks. And I like those kind of bleak, endings, like very much like H.P. Lovecraft stories. All of his stories end in like, oh crap. Even if some don't, they still are like, okay, they win, but we just went through hell. So we have to process all that. But not some, but a lot of the episodes are just so smart and clever. Like, one of my favorites being The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. You heard of that one?
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, so the story of that one is it's just like a normal suburb, and everything's fine. It's a Sunday morning, kids playing in on the street. The families, they're drinking lemonade, they're doing like yard work. Then all of a sudden a light goes by, and it cuts off the power. Then everybody starts thinking like, okay, maybe it's a power outage, and then it starts going to aliens, and then they all start like bickering and conspiring against one another, and it's a suburb, so everybody knows everybody. So then it just it then turns into mass hysteria. But then the end of it, you see these two aliens on top of a hill going, wow, that was easy. all they did was just knock out the power, and they let their paranoia do the rest. So they just realized, like, they picked their own worst enemy. It's themselves. And because there is the whole, like, we are our own worst enemy. And they use that against us. And they're like, well, you know what we can do now? We can now take over humanity by simply knocking out the power and letting their paranoia get to them. And just have them turn on each other. And it's like, that's really smart, and that's really clever, and that's very accurate. So there's a ton of those episodes, and then there's some in there where you're just like, okay, this is pretty cool, and then something completely out of left field happens. You're like, what the hell? And it just ends that way. And it's like, whoa, oh, okay, all right. So I love it. Like one is called 5 Characters in Search of an Exit, and it's a let me see, it's a ballerina, a hobo, a clown, a bagpiper, and an army major are stuck in one room, and they're stuck there, and they're really contemplating like where they are. They don't know what happened. They just woke up and they were there. And then at the end of the story, at the end of it, it's revealed that they're actually toys. And that just came alive because, you know, every time when they come alive, they don't know like who they are, you know, because when you just all of a sudden you're dead and you come back, you like, it's like you start anew. So it's like, whoa, like, okay. So yeah, like it's completely out of left field. And you're just like, what the hell? Like, okay, that was so random. But that's what I loved about the show. And then it had like multiple different shows. I mean, like it came back in the 80s. It came back in the early 2000s. And then most recently, like a couple years ago, it came back for like 2 seasons. And yeah, and then the movie, which was based on 4 of the shorts or 4 of the episodes, it worked. So I was like, wow, okay. So Twilight Zone is definitely like, wow, okay, this is just great. And then the last movie I have on here, which I think is actually the most recent series, I think, X. And here's why. Even though there's only 2 movies and the 3rd coming out in July, which yeah, I'm gonna go see that. It's so like clever and unique, and the fact that it's people have said that X and Pearl, mainly X, it's one of the horniest slasher films ever. And I'm like, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, because in X there's a lot of like sexual stuff going on, a lot, where to the point it's like, seriously, I mean, it's supposed to be they're making a porno, and it's like, yeah, this is actually like almost like watching porn. So it's like, okay, so yeah, yeah, so maybe don't watch them with like, family or stuff like that, or even like some friends,
Good warning.
It's a warning. But it's both those movies are just so good that I'm very excited to see what happens in 3. So I'm fairly excited to see what happens. So, but that's July, so right around the corner. So we'll see.
Right around the corner.
So that's what I got. Now we'll quickly talk about the movie we have, which is Nobody. So around like John Wick. So I saw this movie in theaters. But I know for you, I was the one that showed you this movie. But before I did, Did you have any knowledge of the movie?
I did not. I did not.
Well, it also didn't really have a good marketing thing, because it also came out around like the peak of COVID. So it was actually supposed to come out like pre-COVID, but then it started tracking more in the US, so they delayed it to I think 2021. So it was still kind of in like COVID like peak fever. So it really didn't do well, and they really didn't market it very well because a lot of people weren't going to the theaters at that time. But it's a gem. It was definitely a hidden gem for me. I was like, okay, so it's like John Wick, but it's Bob Odenkirk. So it's like, all right, let's see Saul Goodman kick the crap out of people. Let's see it. So I was all on board on it, and I was like, wow, okay, that was pretty awesome. So yeah, but yeah, what did you think?
Liked the movie when we watched it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because I know I pitched it to you. It's like it's like John Wick, except
it basically is like John Wick. It's just literally a former assassin with his family.
Yeah.
And then he gets raided, and then he gets mad, kind of like when John Wick got mad when they killed his dog.
Well, and wrecked his car. But yeah, it was like they wrecked his car and killed his dog. This one, it was all about a kitty cat bracelet from his young daughter, which then spirals down into being rivals with the Russian mob. So
yeah, it was so funny too.
Yeah.
It was just over this bracelet that he ended up finding in the end.
Yeah, he does.
All this shit just to find it and like.
So it's like, oh, whoops. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Nobody was a huge surprise for me. Like I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, and it was just, man, that movie was just a lot of fun, and
it really was. I mean,
they were supposed to start filming the sequel because they announced it. They were supposed to do it, I think, last year, and they were supposed to come out this year, but they ended up delaying it a year. So right now I think they said they plan on shooting it at the end of the year, I think. So that way it can come out next year. I think that's what they said. So yeah, the fact that they said, yeah, we're gonna do another one, and Bob Odenkirk is back for it. Oh yeah. So they changed it. It was Nobody 2 was confirmed in 2022. Kept getting delayed, but Nobody 2 is slated to begin filming on January 6th, 2025. And it looks like both Odenkirk's coming back. Director, the first one's coming back. So a lot of people from the first one are coming back to do it, which is great.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So, I was thoroughly surprised on how good this movie was. And actually, what's funny is I saw this with a stepdad, and he didn't know anything about it. I just told him about it. It's basically Bob Odenkirk mixed with John Wick, and he's like, "All right, I'm sold." And then he watched like How I Met Your Mother, so he knew who he was. And if you remember in How I Met Your Mother, he was Jason Segel's boss.
Yeah.
But I know him from being Saul Goodman, but as a lot of people do. But well, also a cool thing that came out of this was it's not really cool, but during the last season of Better Call Saul, while they're filming it, Odenkirk suffered a heart attack.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. and he actually went to the hospital, and he's totally fine from it now, but he said that he thinks that his training for nobody is what got him through that.
Wow.
So it's like, oh, that's just crazy.
I know.
So,
But to be fair, your body has to be resistant
yeah.
to a lot of these things. So let's say he never worked out or didn't work out enough, because to play a nobody is like, when you watch the movie, you'll realize that he needed to be really physically fit to do a lot of those stunts and scenes.
Yeah. And yeah, he's actually doing the fights and stuff. So.
Right. So I'm sure his body went through rigorous training, and I'm sure it got used to a certain amount. So I'm sure it helped him get through it, because his body was a lot stronger compared to the movie.
So yeah, I'm glad they're doing another one, and the first one was like, it had so many surprises in it that I wasn't like not expecting it to do, because I thought it was just going to be like a middle of the road, like just straightforward action film, but in actuality there were so many layers to it. It was almost like a Onions or even Shrek. They have layers. So so it was like you have your outer layer, and then you start revealing more. It's like, oh wow, it's actually a lot deeper than I thought this was going to go. But all right, cool, I like this. So yeah. I thoroughly enjoy the movie. I give it respect, so I'm glad I'm glad they're doing another one, because it was just so much fun. So glad. Yeah, so we'll see what happens
we'll see what happens.
But yeah, so if this was basically like, there was a little bit of a break during, I think, John Wick 3 and 4. So it was kind of like, okay, well, we need something to tide us over. And this was it. And it sucks that it didn't do well. But, I'm glad I saw it in the theaters, because it was great. I really liked it. So, and this was definitely one where it was like I have to show you this. Especially if you love John Wick, you'll really like this. So. It's a great movie to just sit down and watch over and over again. Yeah. Because you'll learn more about the movie as you keep watching it. Mm-hmm. So, super fun movie, and was pretty amazed on how much it actually was detailed. So, and thankfully, we're getting another one next year.